Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. So, for those of you that don't know me, which is probably everybody, I'm a big horror movie buff. So, today I had some spare time. It's Tuesday night, and we got Halloween coming up real soon. So, I decided I was going to make a horror movie tier list. So, for the movies that we have selected today, I got them off of IMDB. It's their list for the top 100 horror movies of the 21st century. So, give me a break, and if there's any movies on here that you don't see that you think are really good or you really like that are in the 21st century, let me know. Maybe I'll add them onto the tier list and post it later. Maybe I'll make a separate video with a new category or something along those lines. So, just a disclaimer, obviously, these are my opinions, and what I say doesn't always go. So, if you guys have other opinions, leave a like on the video and comment what you think I should have done instead. For reference, because I did not select every single one of these movies, there will be a couple movies on here, well, quite a few movies on here that I actually haven't seen or really have no idea of. But a majority of these movies I have seen or have a very good idea of the plot and how they go and execution and things like that. So I hope I can give you guys a decent tier list today. And, for a first video, I'm hoping it goes pretty good. So let's get right into it. So, for reference, when it comes to deciding these things, if it's a cover that I don't even know, it means I probably haven't seen it. Um, I remember from IMDb list, this is actually Pulse. Uh, it's something about spirits coming into the real world through the internet or electronics or something along those lines. That's just what I read from the description. I really haven't seen it, and it's actually a foreign movie. So I don't think I'd have ever been in a position to see it either. So I'm just gonna leave that no idea for now. It could be a good movie. I think it goes around 50 on the IMDb list. So I think that's one of those movies where you might want to look into it. But I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to put our first S tier in right away. We're going to start off strong here. There's going to be quite a few S's in here, but there are a lot of standout horror movies here for sure. So for this one, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This movie is probably one of the best supernatural spirit type movies that you can watch. What's special about it is it's about a father son that are doing an autopsy on this body that was found in weird circumstances. It doesn't seem to have like decayed at all. Um, and it's just there's very unusual things going on. And as you progress further and further, there's more and more weird things that happen that get a little bit more extreme. It's almost like a psychological thriller. At the same time, it's also paranormal, and it's actually really interesting. Um, and also, I think the best part about it is that there's a true story behind it all, and there's an explanation, and it's not just some spirits haunting us, and that's just always the way it's been. So I think that's a good start for the first S tier. A Tale of Two Sisters, it's gonna be another no idea movie. I haven't really seen it. I heard it's a pretty good one. I've definitely heard of it before, but I haven't seen it, and I can't really give my opinion on it. I'm gonna throw another one in there right now. What We Do in the Shadows. I have not seen it. This is hilarious on it. I'm not sure if it's some sort of uh, kind of comedy horror movie like there are some on here, but I've never seen it. Like I said, go check it out and see what you think about it. Maybe watch it and get back to me. So we're gonna throw our first F in here. Annabelle Creation. This is one of those movies where the story isn't fantastic. It's really reliant on a lot of cheap jump scares, in my opinion. Um, and it's a weird situation where it kind of downplays the horror side of it, and it's more just like exposition, I think, for the Annabelle movie and the Conjuring movies. And I just don't think it's that great. Um, so I'll leave that one at. I watched it, was not impressed at all. Let's go to the next one on the list, The Descent. The Descent is definitely either A or B tier. I'll stick it in B tier for now, just because I don't want to leave a big area between S and F that makes it a little bit difficult to put things in there. But The Descent is one of those movies where it's a good creature horror movie. I think the setup is really good, and I think why I might put it B tier is the whole controversy with the ending. So in the ending, there's two different endings. One of them is kind of like the cheaper, like it was all a dream type ending. And the other one's like, without ruining the movie, it's more of like the realistic ending, I guess. Um, and I just don't want to spoil it for you, but just know that the movie experience can be entirely different for you depending on what ending you watch. So here we have our first foreign movie that I've actually seen. It's called Goodnight Mommy, and this is actually, I'd say, S tier. This movie is the perfect combination of suspense and also just mystery, just not knowing. Um, the whole point of the story is that these two kids, it's actually a foreign film, I believe, German maybe, but these two kids, their mom comes home from plastic surgery. Her face is all bandaged up, and she can't talk, and she's acting weird and such. And so these kids are sitting here dealing with their mom who's acting weird, and it just gets more and more intense. And they slowly start to realize that their mom is not their mom. And there's a very climactic ending to it, and it's definitely a good horror movie, and it's truly horror as well. So here we have Antichrist. This movie is more shock than anything. If you've watched any of disturbing tearless or just disturbing movie like icebergs and things like that, this is just one of those shock films. It's on along the same lines of like a Serbian film and things like that. There are a lot of mutilation and torture scenes in it that make it very scary. I will say the director work is really good. There are a lot of scenes in it that are very well put together, and very pretty, honestly, for what is a horror movie, pretty much. And besides that, the story isn't great. It tells a story, yes. It's a pretty powerful message, I'd say, but it's more just shock, and I think that downplays the rest of it. We have Behind the Mask. I've never seen it. Again, sorry. Go check it out if you're interested in it. I'm sorry I couldn't give my opinion on it. Here we have The Woman in Black. This is another F tier for me. Actually, this movie, I've watched it twice. I fell asleep both times. To be fair, I did watch it all the way through. The first time I fell asleep during the first half, the second time I fell asleep during the second half. It's a movie I couldn't get through, and that's pretty bad. I usually don't fall asleep during movies. So, just know I'm not a huge fan of it. I personally think it's a bad movie. Now we have Dead Silence. This movie is actually relatively good. I'm not sure I'd put it above The Descent, but it's about basically spirits that live in these puppets. And actually, towards the end, it gets a little shock-ish, like it's just a little unsettling, but it's still a really good story, really good scary movie, and the ending is pretty satisfying. It turns out pretty nice. So I would suggest it as like a watch, but don't be impressed by it. Loved Ones, I've never seen it. I apologize again. We have A Quiet Place here. The first Quiet Place, I've seen the second one. The second one's not great. I'll be honest here. The first one, however, for John Krasinski, I think his name is, the Office guy, Jim from The Office, he put together a pretty good movie here. Um, there's not any really gigantic plot holes in it, which I think is, for a new director, I think that's pretty impressive. But overall, there's a lot of suspenseful moments in it, and the best part is that it's one of those movies. I lose a lot of credit for scary movies when they rely on jump scares, and this is just one of those movies that's just pure suspense, and it's really nice. Here we have Sinister. Sinister is honestly a good movie. It's about people that move into a house. They find these tapes, and they realize that their house is pretty much cursed by a boogeyman in a way. Um, and it's overall a really good movie. It has a little bit of everything. It has jump scares. It has a little bit of a creep factor. It has a little bit of blood and gore. And it has a possession aspect to it. So it's like it really covers all bases. There's kind of like the creature thing to it with the boogeyman itself. It's not bad. It's a really good movie. I'd definitely check it out. You know, The Shadow. Sorry, I've never seen it. The Grabbers. Never seen it. I apologize. Krampus. This movie, in my personal opinion, is like a hidden gem. I'd actually put Krampus at A. At A. It has a lot of good special effects. It has pretty good actors. It has pretty good acting. It's one of those movies where you go into it thinking it's going to be a joke. It's a Christmas horror movie. It's about Krampus. and it ends up actually being a decent experience. And I know a decent experience may not always deserve an A, but overall, the story of it, not fantastic. But the characters are memorable, and the deaths are memorable, and the special effects and the creatures that you see in it, they're definitely special. So I definitely say that one's worth a watch. Maybe not a Halloween watch, maybe more of a Christmas watch, but it's still a good movie. Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. I have seen trailers for it. I know it's in black and white. It was on Netflix for a bit. I haven't seen it yet, tragically. So again, sorry, another no idea movie. We're just gonna get a lot of these out of the way. Girl with All the Gifts. 1408. This movie, I'd say, is a B tier. Um, it's about a man that's investigating. This man's basically a writer for haunted. He like writes like paranormal activity novels, pretty much. And he writes about things like that. And for the most part, he understands that paranormal activity is fake. So when he goes to this hotel, he expects it to be another just smoke show and something along those lines where he's just gonna have to come up with something to write about. And it actually turns out being incredibly real. And it's kind of like the personal hell type of movie. And so that's what makes it really interesting to watch, is because he kind of goes through his personal hell. He's getting trapped in this room. He's being tortured in some ways physically, like he's getting his hand stuck in a window, or he's getting, attacked by ghosts. And then also it brings on the mental torture of like having to see like past experiences that traumatize him. So overall, for me, it covers, again, it's one of those situations where it covers a lot of bases, and it's also just very well put together. It makes a lot of sense. There's no plot holes. Acting isn't bad. It's not cheesy. There's no cheap scares. It's one of those well put together movies. Um, Production wise, I don't think it's amazing. Um, it's well put together, yes, but like it's a kind of an older movie. Um, so that's why I'm putting it a B tier, Behind a Quiet Place. It Comes at Night. This is a surprisingly good movie. I'm gonna put this at the top of B tier. This movie is like the definition of a slow burn. It is like the perfect combination of like horror and almost psychological thriller, because it's not about what you do see, it's about what you don't see. It's about what you don't see and what you hear and things like that. So it's really cool to see basically how your imagination works and what you're going to imagine it's going to be, and you realize that you play things out a bit more extreme than you need to be. But also it's the idea that like if you fear something, it's scary. Even if you don't know what it is, you're more likely to fear it than you wouldn't. So that was a pretty bad explanation for that one, but also at the same time, it's one of those movies where like it's all built around your imagination and what you think is going to happen, and that's what makes it so scary. Get Out. This movie is most definitely an S tier. First off, great message. Jordan Peele, his debut as a director, really impressive. Also, pretty good performances by both the main character and also their girlfriend in the story. They both put together really good performances, and it's one of those movies where it's so in depth too. If you watch it multiple times, you're gonna pick up new stuff every single time. I think that's one of the like the best parts of the whole movie is that there's rewatch value to it. So not only is it very suspenseful, and it's one of those puzzle type of movies where as things go on, you realize something's not right, but you slowly start to figure it out as time goes on. And when you put it all together, it's the greatest feeling. It's definitely one of the better movies on here, and actually, I'm gonna put it above Goodnight Mommy. Here we have Paranormal Activity. I'm gonna give this one C. I apologize to all the people that Paranormal Activity was one of their first scary movies they've ever watched. Um, I think this is one of those movies that if it wasn't for it being so close to real life, it wouldn't be a good movie. There's a lot of boring parts in the movie, and until the very end, it's not really interesting in my opinion. But with it being so close to real life, it's kind of like the based on a true story instances. Um, it just adds so much more fear to it that like this could happen in real life, or it has happened in real life. So I think that's a big reason why people play it up more. I won't fall for that trap, sadly. I'll put Ginger Snap in No Idea, never seen it. Veronica, I have an idea of. Sadly, I have not seen it. It Follows. So, right now, the trend on TikTok is the snail that will follow you for your entire life, and it can go through anything, and it's going to get closer and closer, and you can live out your life until it gets to you. This is the same instance. Basically, a girl gets an STD or a curse almost from sex that this entity that can take any form or shape will follow her, and when it catches her, it will kill her, and then move on to the last person that she's had sex with. So the only way to delay it is to have sex with somebody else. I think it's a very interesting concept. It's incredibly original. I think that's probably one of the best parts of it. Um, and it's definitely just creates a lot of anxiety that you are just always being chased. The person moves at a walk, the entity moves at a walk, and it takes the form of anything and anybody. So there's a scene in the movie where this woman is just walking through the halls of high school, and the thing is, other people can't see it. It's invisible to everybody else. So this old woman's just walking through the hallways, blank faced, and only the person that's infected and is being chased can see it. And it's definitely, just one of the movies that produces anxiety. And I think that's what makes it so good. It's like a slow burn, but it's constant. The House of the Devil, sadly, never seen it. The Others, never seen it. The Orphan. This movie is okay. It's a little annoying because of the way that people act in the movie. So basically, it's about this woman. Actually, yeah, this woman that lost a child, I believe, and so they adopt this orphan, and this orphan is manipulative and wants to inflict pain upon the family. There's a reason towards the end of it. I don't want to ruin it for you because there's a big twist at the end. I don't want to ruin it entirely, but the acting is really weird. There's a lot of like plot holes and weird instances of like acting like why does a person do this when it doesn't make any sense. And overall the twist is okay. It's a little disgusting, honestly, of a movie, just like morals wise, but other than that, it's not a bad movie. It's just not good. It's not even average, but it's not terrible. The Host. I have seen this movie. It was a long time ago. The CGI loses it some credit, but it's a very long movie from what I remember. I think like 2.5 hours almost. But it's about basically a sea creature that comes out and basically traumatizes a town. And there's some rescue missions in it and things like that. It's not an incredibly scary movie. It's a good creature film. We got Lights Out. Lights Out was it was a pretty original movie. I think that's what made it nice. I think it was very jump scare dependent. It did a good job of maybe trying to create suspense, like trying to create build up for jump scares, um, in more efficient ways than just music, which I think was really nice. But overall, I think it was a very jump scare dependent movie. Um, and it was definitely a box office type of movie and really didn't have a lot of value besides that, besides the jump scares. So that's why I'm giving it low B tier. The Visit. This is an M. Night Shyamalan film. Um, it is basically about two kids that visit their grandparents for a weekend. And as they progress, they realize their grandparents are a little bit weirder than they expected. Um, I overall think it's an alright movie. I don't think I'd put it at the top of C because it's an M Night Shyamalan film. There's not the big M Night Shyamalan twist. It's more of a build up, and as things go, you realize that there's definitely something wrong here. It's not just one big moment where it all changes, which is, I guess, nice for a horror movie because you can kind of piece it together. But overall, I don't think the movie is fantastic. It felt like kind of a fake horror movie with a lot of weird like jump scares, but just somebody's there. Of course, I'm not like a huge jump scare fan. I think it's even worse when it's a jump scare when it's not even scary. It's just the getting you when you least expect it because you didn't even want it to be scary, which I think is just horrible. Here we got Shaun of the Dead. Um, This movie is definitely iconic. I don't think it's not scary at all. Everybody understands that. It's just an iconic movie. Um, I will give it A just because of how iconic it is. It's funny. They do really good with the references to prior zombie movies. They do really good with just making it entertaining, honestly. Like I said, it's basically the zombie land of the UK, I believe. Um, so yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I wouldn't really say it's a horror movie, realistically, but because it's on IMDb's list, I'll put it up there for A. It's a good movie. It's worth a watch. The Babadook. This movie is most definitely top of A if I can fit it in there. There we go. This movie is about basically this book character named Babadook. And this child starts getting taunted by it or tortured by it in a way. And it eventually takes over the mom. And it's definitely an interesting story. The kid, when I watched, the kid pissed me off. The kid is annoying. Um, but overall, the movie is pretty good. There's a lot of real moments in it. The last thing that I ever want to hear, or the thing that makes me the most uncomfortable, is hearing a mother say that like they wish they never had their kid. So it's one of those movies where it makes you uncomfortable and it's good at doing it. We'll move on to Jeepers Creepers. This movie is, yes, iconic, not great. It's basically a creature film because this guy's like a mutant. He's an alien or something, and he basically just goes around hunting people, killing people. There's not much more to say besides that. There's a good performance by the main actor who is the main character in Dodgeball. I can't think of his name right now, but he has a pretty good performance. And besides that, it's just an average creature slasher type of movie. Not quite slasher, but kind of the same premise where he just kills people sometimes. He just goes around killing people. Train to Busan. This movie is surprisingly good. I'm gonna put it above Shaun of the Dead just because I don't really count that as a horror movie. Shaun of the Dead will probably end up towards the bottom of A tier. Train to Busan is pretty much a zombie movie about a guy that gets stuck on a train to Busan with a bunch of zombies, and it's overall a good movie. It's put together, the special effects and all that, like the design of the zombies and things, it's amazing. The design of the sets, it's amazing. It is a foreign movie. I believe it's Korean. Sorry if I'm incorrect on that one, but it's overall a pretty good movie. It's an entertaining watch. It definitely gets you going. Then we have The Strangers. This one I will give an S, and I think why I give it an S is first off how realistic it is, and second off the tension that it builds. The whole premise of this movie is that there are strangers that knock on their door and basically torture this family. And the most iconic part of this movie is there's a part where the family that's being basically kidnapped, tortured in their own home, is that family says, "Why are you doing this?" And the strangers say, "Because you were home." Um, and that's one of those moments that really like makes you think like, yeah, there's just some evil people out there would do this. I think that's the biggest reason why this movie is so scary is like when you hear that it just hits home and you're like, yeah, what if I just what if somebody knocked on my door and just wanted to do horrible things to me? And that's what makes it so scary. If Troll Hunter, I personally didn't like this movie. A lot of people say they did. It's all right. It's one of those movies where you kind of don't even know what it's about until 40 minutes in. I'm not a huge fan of that. Um, Overall, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. Again, just like The Orphan, it just wasn't a good movie. These, I'll say they're decent movies. They're good movies. These, once you get to DNF, they're not good movies. Like I get these are terrible. These aren't terrible, but they're not good. We have The First Conjuring. The First Conjuring is iconic in a good way. I would say The First Conjuring is probably one of the better horror movies that is built around jump scares that is actually very good. There's a lot of chaotic moments that aren't jump scares, of course, but I think the story is really good. It introduces Ed and Lorraine Warren to the Conjuring universe and really was a great stepping stone, great foundation for where they're at right now, which is obviously a lot more Conjuring movies, more Annabelle movies, things along those lines. I don't even know what that is. Rare exports, never seen it before. Mama. I've seen this movie. It's very creepy. I don't think it was great. I'm just gonna leave that in D tier. You can investigate yourself for that one if you want. I just thought it was a slow movie. Um, just like I said, it wasn't fantastic. The Collector. This is kind of a Saw type of movie. So kind of the torture porn type thing. A lot of people don't like it. Sorry if that's gonna get this. I don't even know what to say. Probably not demonetized because I'm not monetized yet, but in trouble maybe. The Collector is just not a great movie. It's a Saw. I think it was made before Saw, maybe. No, definitely after Saw, based on production, but um, kind of a Saw ripoff where the guy just like tortures people and collects people. Um, I don't think it was great. I don't think it was bad. It was overall a good movie, just not great. Drag Me to Hell. This movie is a pretty good movie. It has an iconic ending. Like this ending is like will make your day if you watch it. You might not like it, you might like it a lot. But overall the ending is like what makes it above B tier. Besides that, there's good special effects. There's a really, really good story. And again, it's like the anxiety feeling thing where like it makes you unsettled. And that's what makes it such a good movie. You're next. This is the one movie on here that I can say that this is the smartest main character I've ever seen in a horror movie ever. There's usually in horror movies, there's usually somebody who's a bit more witty than the other ones. This one, the main character, grew up in like a military training camp. So the main character knows how to fight back against the slashers in this movie. And again, it's a puzzle movie. That's always a great add-on. You figure out things as you go along, but the main character is what makes this movie so great. Um, she makes a lot of good moves that makes you think like, yeah, this makes me happy that the main character is not doing the stupid shit like you see in all the other slasher movies. So I really like it. I really like the movie. I've seen it way too many times, and it's definitely S tier movie. Dead Snow. This is a horror movie. If you've ever looked up Call of Duty zombies in real life, you've probably seen this movie. It's gory. It has zombie. I don't think zombie Hitler specifically, but it has zombie like lieutenants and things like that. It's a decent movie. It just isn't, supreme. I'd say it's good, just not worse than these. As above, so below. You guys can hate me for this one. This is S tier for me. As above, so below is about going into your own personal hell in the Paris catacombs. A lot of uh, architects, explorers, adventurers go into the Paris catacombs searching for the Philosopher's Stone, and they all find their personal hell. And it's a really great movie. It's really cool. It's kind of a mind fuck, but overall, it's a good movie. Inside the Skin, I do not know that movie. The Mist. This movie is probably up. This is tough. I probably put it at the top of B. It's a great sci-fi horror movie. It's based on a Stephen King novel, I believe. There's some decent special effects, and I think it's a really good interpretation of probably what most people would do in a dire situation. Um, I think it's I wouldn't say a study, but like I said, a really good depiction of how people will act when chaos sets in. There's going to be the irrational, there's going to be the irrational people, there's going to be the rational people. There's the Jesus freaks that say God is the one doing this and it's meant to be. And there's the people that say we need to survive and, you know, hunker down and really do what they need to. We have Raw. I think this movie is all right, just not great. I would put above 1408. It's basically about a roommate, or well, not a roommate, a woman that goes to a veterinarian school, and they get hazed and are forced to eat a liver of some animal, raw liver. She was a vegetarian before. When she eats this liver, she slowly transitions into a vampire. There's a lot of good scenes in the movie. I think it's a pretty cool depiction of college life in a way, college hazing. I think it has a lot of good elements of that. And it really brings together like I think it's a very good depiction of like a college life, and college setting where there's the partying, there's the sex, there's the roommates, class, a little bit of everything. That it throws this whole dynamic of her slowly transitioning into a vampire into it, or not vampire but cannibal. So it's a good movie. This movie, Housebound, not a good movie. It was boring. This is another one of those movies where I could have fell asleep during it. It's just not enough at any point during the movie. So I didn't enjoy it. The Witch. This is actually one of my favorite movies. I don't think it's S worthy, but it's one of my favorite movies. I'll put it above Jeremy Hill and Trina Basan. Basically, it's about um, a daughter, well, a family that gets kicked out of a town, and they're trying to fend for themselves on their own farm, their own homestead. Um, and the daughter ends up losing the baby to presumably a witch. Um, you really don't know that a witch is real until certain scenes about halfway through the movie, but when you do, it's just constant tension from there, and they're trying to chase down this witch and just survive because it seems as if they're being cursed or casted spells on or something, and it's definitely anxiety inducing movie, and it definitely pulls a lot of strings that you're not used to. And I think what's great about it is that it's a timepiece that does it very well. I think too, the accents are a little hard to understand, but I think that's because it's so accurate. It's something you're just not used to. But the acting is very good, and there's a lot of drama to it for a horror movie that isn't, of course, revolved around the horror, which is nice. Creep. This is a hidden gem again. Sorry, I might say it a lot. Hidden gem. I wish Creep 2 was on here, but it's really good. Um, Basically, dive into the mind of what might be a psycho person. Like the psychology of some people. For example, assuming that the creep, the guy in the film that is being filmed, it's kind of filmed as like a found footage. Basically, the creep, quote unquote, hires somebody to film a video for his son because he's dying of a cancer, presumably. That's what he says. And the guy filming obviously can see that this guy is like not well. He's not right, um, in whatever way. And even though the creep um, is making like threats towards him pretty much, like he's making indirect threats on his life, the guy still comes back and trusts him every single time. And it's definitely a cool to see how like the guy acts as well as the creep, and he explains the way that he's thinking and like why he does the things that he does, and it's just interesting. Hostel. This is again like Saw, just the UK, I believe. It's basically about people that go on vacation, and when they go on their vacation, they run into, they get tricked to get trapped into an elite group of people that basically torture humans for money. It's kind of like human trafficking, except for when they get the people, they, do whatever they want with them. It's a good movie. I wouldn't say it's fantastic. It's definitely worth a watch if you can handle it. It's again one of those movies like Saw, like The Collector, where there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of torture stuff. Here we have Insidious. Insidious is one of the better movies, and again, it's like The Conjuring. I don't think it's S tier worthy, but it's definitely A tier worthy. That's for sure. It's a very good foundation again for what is the other Insidious movies. It's a pretty. It starts off as a pretty realistic, um, spiritual movie about demons and possession, and like I said, it's actually like it's somewhat believable, and I think that's what's nice. There's a lot of jump scares in it. You can tell it's one of those box office trying to score type of films. It's still very good. Um, has a pretty good story, and again, it's like again a very good introduction to what is the Insidious universe. We have Session 9. This is about a bunch of what is it? Basically they're removing asbestos and tearing up the floors and things like this in an abandoned building. I believe it was an asylum, maybe a prison. I think it's an asylum. And you unveil these tapes, and in those tapes, it basically talks about, um, messed up people doing messed up things, and specifically one person. But overall, from what I remember, the movie, it's good. There's a really good twist in it. Um, the characters are they're pretty good. It's a memorable movie. I'm sorry, I'm struggling right now. When I watch movies, sometimes I don't pay a lot of attention. So, from what I remember, this movie was pretty good. I think I watched it actually twice. Um, it has a very slow start, and that's why I'm putting it in B tier. Because it's kind of a boring setting, but it's still a good movie. Life. I'm going to be honest. I don't remember a lot of this movie, but I do remember the beginning scene. This is a star-studded movie when it comes to actors. It's sad that they kill all of them. Like they kill so many of them off right in like the first 15 minutes. Um, Overall, it's a good premise that they find life on another planet, and it's stronger than they thought it was. Um, they realize that they're not the alphas in the universe after they encounter this thing. I think it's a really good movie. I'd actually put it above. I put it above Lights Out. Oculus. This is a good movie of both what is like psychological. It's also a pretty believable paranormal film. There's very good background to the movie. There are a lot of exposition, of course, which always isn't fun. Um, but it's played off well and it has a good ending, in my opinion. And it just overall is a decent movie. Bone Tomahawk, sadly never seen it. The first Saw. This movie is might be bottom A, top S. I'll say bottom or I'll put bottom S. Saw is one of those movies where you always think, what would I do? It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle movie. The actors in it, they're going through puzzles. You are trying to solve that puzzle for them, and when they do or don't do the same thing that you are thinking of, it always feels great. The end of the movie, the twist is amazing. It's one of those endings that you'll never forget. Um, and again, it's a very good foundation for what is an iconic franchise, and there's a reason why these movies are S tier. There's a reason why these movies have franchises that follow them in whole series. So that's why that movie is S. Midsommar. This is Ari Aster's second movie that he directed, and it is very good. It is the perfect movie for people who don't like jump scares. It's kind of a trip type of movie that might make some people uncomfortable. Some people might like that. There's a lot of cool visuals. Um, there's again, it's a big puzzle movie. It's kind of like Get Out. You discover a lot of things along the way, and it gets cooler the more you watch it. There's also a big shock factor in the movie too, which is iconic of Ari Aster, as we've seen from Hereditary, which I'm gonna rank after this. But it has a shock factor in the movie that is pretty good. Um, Traumatized me personally for a few days seeing the certain scene in the beginning. And Florence Pugh, I believe her name is, the main actor in the movie, is seen right here. She has a very good performance and shows the stages of grief very well, which is what Ari Aster focuses a lot of his character development around. So it's overall a very good movie. I definitely suggest watching it. Hereditary. This movie is definitely towards the bottom of S. It's S tier because it is the type, again, the type of movie where it's all based around, first off, a puzzle and tension, and it's a slow burn build up that has this climax point of like the oh shit moment, things are about to go down, and then it builds up again. You know, you cool off for a bit, and then it builds up again. It's just the whole movie is just amazing. You know, there's never a slow point in the movie. There's always, something you can pick up on. There's always emotions you can be reading. Uh, and the characters in it, the development of them, the dynamics between them, it's just amazing. And like I said, there's that puzzle on top of it where the more you watch it or the more observant you are, the more you pick up on and the cooler it is. It's just a great movie. Dawn of the Dead, I know the movie is iconic, guys. I just don't think it's great. I just really don't. That's all I really have to say about that. It's just a classic zombie movie. It doesn't do anything special besides better production. That's the only thing it does special. It's definitely above these movies. I'll give them that much. But I don't think it's a great movie. We have The Ring here. I'm going to assume this is the American version of The Ring. I'm going to be honest. Although iconic and although kind of real, as of 2021, a lot of that is lost from the idea that people understand how the internet works and how technology works. I'm sorry if that's a bad reason to throw it under the bus, but like it's kind of cheesy when you watch it in 2021, honestly. So I apologize for that. Let Me and I have not seen. I've heard it's a really good movie, so I apologize. Um, I have nothing but apologies for that one. We're gonna throw a lot more in the no idea. I don't even know what movie that is. Don't know what movie that is. Now this one, The Devil's Candy. This movie is actually like kind of a gem too. I'd say it's above actually uh, The Visit. It's a low production movie. I remember watching it on Netflix. I think it wasn't released or wasn't didn't even get a theatrical release. The movie is basically about an artist that suddenly gets this weird, almost like calling to make a certain type of painting. And this painting reveals itself to be a little sinister, and obviously sinister things follow it. And to get a slow burn movie that you realize something is wrong, and you just don't know what it is yet, and you're just waiting for it, and it's a fun movie to watch. Cabin in the Woods. Again, I'm not sure I'd really call this one horror. It honestly is kind of comedy in a lot of ways because it's about horror movie tropes and kind of throws them under the bus, which is kind of funny. I'd put it above Session 9. It's a fun movie to watch. It has, like I said, a lot of horror movie tropes that are fun to see, and definitely gives you a run for your money. Pretty much, you're gonna be like a lot like, oh, I know what that is, or yo, it's just like this and just like that. And it's a fun movie. Again, it makes fun of other scary movies, and that's why I think it's more of like comedy almost. Pan's Labyrinth. Sadly, I've actually not seen it. I know I probably should have, but I haven't. Kill List, never seen it. Hotep, never seen it. I apologize. The Wailing. I've heard enough about this that I'm gonna be confident enough to rank it. This movie should at least be A tier. So if you guys disagree with me, you can comment and tell me where it should be. But I've seen enough movie reviews and I've seen enough disturbing movie ratings and rundowns and things like that to understand that The Wailing is a good movie. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. This is actually one of like my favorite movies. I wouldn't consider it a scary movie because it's not really. It's like again, it's more of a comedy. Um, I'll put it up with Cabin in the Woods just because I feel like it has its rightful place as a great movie. There's a good movie, but it's just not really a scary movie. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. It's just like kind of unfortunate circumstances where these goober guys, these hillbillies, are up north, and these again, horror movie trope teenagers kind of just like get themselves killed by them and they don't even mean to. It's kind of funny. Let the Right One In, again, iconic, I know. Sorry, I haven't seen it. Hush. This movie is incredibly original, incredibly well put together, and if you are okay without a lot of dialogue, if you don't need the dialogue to make a movie worth watching, this is definitely, one of those top tier movies. Um, it's about a deaf woman that is basically home alone in the woods and is dealing with a home invasion, and she has to use her other senses in order to, outsmart this killer that's just there for no reason. This is Shutter. I have seen it before. I don't remember it very well. I'm just gonna put it along these movies. I'll probably put it above these because it actually has a really good premise that you can basically only see, these spirits that are haunting you through a camera, which makes sense. Actually, I think this might be the one that like the camera kills you, but still. Slither, never seen it. I apologize. The Orphanage, never seen it. I apologize. This is the Japanese version of The Grudge. I think it's called Ju-on the Grudge. This movie is haunting. Um, because I don't remember a lot of it. I just remember certain scenes where I remember I was very freaked out. I'm gonna give it low B tier. When it comes to foreign movies, I of course don't remember a lot of it because of course it's not my language, so it makes it a little bit hard to just remember, I guess. Trick or Treat. This is actually, I think, the only anthology film on here, and I respect that a lot. It's actually a good movie. I believe it was on Netflix for the longest time. It's an anthology movie that gets a lot of things right. Special effects. It's not incredibly cheesy, and overall, it's scary. So I'll give it midway through B tier. Sadly, I'm just gonna get the rest of the movies that I haven't seen out of the way here. Never seen whatever that is. Attention. Devil's Rejects. That sounds familiar. I just don't remember right now. Devil's Backbone. So that is all the movies out of the way. Actually, 28 Days Later. Sorry, I know that's an iconic film. I haven't seen it. The only thing that I've ever seen from that film is the guy leaving his wife to die and then running away from the house. That's the only thing I remember. So I apologize. Oh, actually, I've never seen this one either. I think that's Suspiria. Okay, you have It. I think this is the first one, and I will give this one. This is tough. I actually wasn't a huge fan of the film, if we're being honest here, but it is a very well put together movie, and I know that shouldn't always be what I base things on because, like, Creep is like a found footage film, very low budget. You talk about Blair Witch Project, very good movies that don't have the production value, but it's one of those movies that are just satisfying to watch. There's very good stories based on a Stephen King novel. Um, Obviously, loosely, because you hear about the Stephen King novel and you know about the cosmic turtle and things like that. But yeah, I think it's a good quality movie. I just didn't think it was special. I didn't think it was anything incredible. Martyrs. This again is a shock value film, but here's what I'll say about it. It surprisingly is good if you can handle the content of it. It's a shock film, like I said. There is gore, there is just inhumane things that you'll see. But the premise of it is that basically, as these martyrs are kidnapped and given this, they have to go through this torture, right? And the belief is that eventually there is a point where you can be alive but experience the afterlife. And the ending of the movie is definitely one that makes you think. It is definitely a traumatizing one. Um, like I said, if you can handle the content, it is a good movie to watch. There's gore and there's just like hard topics to understand, just like I said about the the afterlife situation, and it's just It's kind of a complicated movie. Ready or not. This, again, is a very good slasher film where the main character is not stupid. It's kind of cheesy about the whole curse situation. So basically, it's a woman that when you get married into this rich family, you have to play this game as a part of their tradition because they signed a deal with the devil or something. She is not a dummy, which makes this movie very good. I will put it right below Midsommar. The Evil Dead. This is a remake film, incredibly scary, incredibly gory. It will make your skin crawl. It will make you wince, cringe. It'll make you do everything. It's one of those movies that traumatizes you, makes you never want to go out into the woods again, and just could make a fun experience bad in the future. And I think that's like that makes a horror movie obviously good if it's going to impact you in a way like that. And I mean, that's why you watch scary movies, right? To get that emotional impact, even if it's temporary. Well, you want it to be temporary, but the point is that it's a really good movie and it's going to move you. Cloverfield. This movie is actually pretty good because it's found footage. I'm not a huge fan, um, but it's a very good setup for the other Cloverfield movies, and the Cloverfield universe is actually very interesting. I'd suggest watching all the other Cloverfield movies and you know looking into the Cloverfield universe because it surprisingly links together really well, and there's an alternate reality game that goes along with it, kind of. So it's pretty cool. So here we see it. So I'm gonna have to change this one. I'm gonna put this in its place. I said about it one. It two. I actually haven't seen it two. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize, but I have not. Don't breathe. This movie is kind of like Hush, except for the guy is blind. I personally really like the movie. I don't think it's S tier though. I'd put it above Babadook. They just had a sequel for it. Obviously, that means the first one was good and did well in box office. It's a good movie about a blind person that doesn't fuck around pretty much with people that are trying to rob him. But the blind person isn't actually, he's not just protecting himself as you find out, but it's a good movie. The Invisible Man. This is not a remake of the old Invisible Man movie. This is a newer version with a newer premise. Overall, it's not really a scary movie. I don't think it's more a suspense thriller type beat. Um, I'll put it about Train to Busan. It's a movie that's unsettling. There's like again, there's really good twists and puzzles in it. And I think it's just like I watched a video on it. The camera work and like directing is just amazing. It just makes you think that there's always somebody in the frame watching the woman in the story. It's it's basically about a very intelligent man, like a scientist that made an invisible suit and has this woman in a relationship that she doesn't want to be in. And when she leaves, the invisible man is may or may not be stalking her at all times. And so you kind of have to figure out for yourself when he is there and when he isn't there. And it's definitely, a movie that keeps you on your toes. That's what's nice about it. I saw The Devil. I've never actually watched this movie, but I've heard enough, I've seen enough about it that I feel confident ranking it. This is another disturbing movie. Um, Shout out to like Spooky Rice that does rank or gives rundowns on all these movies that are very disturbing. I think that's where I remember hearing about I Saw the Devil. I can't really give a good rundown on it, but I remember it's a disturbing movie and it's well worth a watch. The Conjuring 2. I believe this is the one where they are in like London or Great Britain or something like that. Paris. I don't know, doing some exorcism there with the girls that maybe like kind of faking it, and there's the old man in the chair. I thought it was an alright movie. I believe this is the one that has the Crooked Man in it, which is a sequel coming up in the Conjuring universe that I'm kind of excited for. The highlight of the movie is the Crooked Man. I didn't think it was great. I'd put it below, right below A Quiet Place. Again, it was very jump scare dependent. Overall decent movie. Final Destination. Unique concept, very good execution, kind of gory, which isn't always for a lot of people, but it's all right. Um, it's overall a very good movie for it being one of the older movies on this list. It's very good and put together very well. Very good production value, and it's just a very cool premise where a guy can basically see into the future of how people die and or who will die next, and he's trying to prevent it. And what you realize is that fate's always going to find a way. So it's a very cool movie. Um, it will make you afraid of roller coasters. It'll make you afraid of a lot of things. So it's a good movie. Wreck. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I was not a huge fan of Wreck. It just wasn't great. Us. This movie I personally liked a lot. But I am going to put it in A tier because first off, I think a big thing is that it wasn't as in depth as Get Out. It was kind of more a basic statement movie on like basically it's another Jordan Peele movie. What do I say about this? I don't know. I just didn't think it was amazing. Like it wasn't too deep. The only thing that really made it interesting was the whole idea that or the plot thing that you're trying to figure out as it goes is that is the mother actually the clone or is the mother actually the real mom? Um, Especially at the end. So that's the only thing that's nice about it. Taking of Deborah Logan. I'll be honest with you, this movie goes up here pretty far. Not sure how far. I'd probably say right here. This movie, the reason why I'm giving it a yes, it's a very slow burn film. It's basically about a woman that has dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's like a documentary type film where they're trying to record this woman and see how she goes through life and help her. Um, there's a scene at the end where she has her whole like mouth wrapped around the head of a child. I will never forget that. So that's the reason why I'll put it in A. It's a movie that I will never forget just because of that item right there. So that's what we have so far for this tier list. We're gonna switch a couple things around here, because Autopsy of Jane Doe definitely does not belong at the top of S. We'll make it a little bit more correct. Okay. Good night, Mom. You can go through here. This is gonna be the one I'm gonna organize around like this because um, I don't think the other ones matter too much. You get a general premise of where these are at. Um, Move that one around. Yeah. Okay. Probably move Good night, Mommy towards the end of here. Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot. Okay. So here we have our tier list. I made this tier list myself. I had to save 100 images and put them in a folder and then put them all in a tier maker. So if you guys want to go and use my tier maker, I believe it's called the top 100 horror films, horror movies of the 21st century. You can go check it out, make your own list. Tweet it at me at BTheelBar35. I don't use Twitter a lot, but I had to log into Twitter to use tier maker. So again, if you guys disagree with me, you can always comment. Make sure to like first, subscribe if you want. I'll probably be making more tiers. Um, so again, let me know what you think about it. If you disagree, let me know. If you agree, let me know. Um, and send me pictures of your own tier list with the same tier maker, and let me know what you think. Also, you guys, if you want, you can help me out here and argue about that in the comments as well, because obviously I can help you with a lot of these movies that were a bit more obscure or I just haven't seen yet. So overall, thank you guys. Thanks for watching.